Hello, everybody. Anthony from the Atlanta Falcons here. Going to put together a mock draft for AW, and was wondering if I'd have more people on. I was asking Mark to come on, but he just said he's going to publish that email, so that made sense to me. That's the best way for him to get across his mock draft. Still wanted to put a video together to just run through a quick mock. Going to do it real quick here. Give you maybe a quick view or two on where we think things are going to fall out. I'm going to try to make it as quick as I can. Logan's unlikely with 30 picks. Talking much else about it. The Atlanta Falcons are on the clock, so that's my pick. If I keep the pick, kind of assume I'm going to, but you never know. I am not in love with any of the quarterbacks. My team needs are pretty clear. I just have Geno on the active roster right now. I'm encouraged by Richardson's performance on Thursday, but you never know. That's just one little small blip. And obviously means nothing for this year or next year. We're talking years. And then Geno, you hope that he puts together a good 100 snaps and a decent card somehow to be decent next year. But it's obvious you need a quarterback. So let's just talk about them. Dart, more upside than anybody else by far. More injury risk. The whole offense just seems to me have a lack of instability to it when he's on the field. And that's still instability it works for the offense really well. It just seems sort of dangerous in all the good ways and bad ways when he's on the field, sort of he seems to create his own problems sometimes in terms of pressure. Doesn't really know how to read the pocket well and use it to his advantage. Now, yesterday's missed block from Tyrone Tracy, I think it was, it was not analogous to Anthony Richardson's first snap or first series with the Ravens preseason last year, where he just blew a read. Dart didn't blow a read yesterday. That was a blown block. Nonetheless, most upside out of all of them. Chuck has, I think, the offense that's ready-made for a good passing card. Ready-made. Don't believe in Etienne, going off and this becoming a run offense somehow. He could do fine, Etienne, don't get me wrong, but or the others, Devin Neal, etc. But it's going to be kind of a pass-first offense, which is going to lead to guest right columns for Chuck that are good. And coming up last in the group, Cam Ward. Look, I watch a lot of college football. I watch a lot of pro football. I just do. It's what used to have 10 screens. Now I have 8 screens, and they're running all weekend long, all the way to the end of the Hawaii game at 3 a.m. every week. So, watched a lot of Cam Ward, especially because I'm a Syracuse fan in particular, right? Remember the November 20th game, I think it was, of 2020. That would have been 2024, Syracuse versus Miami, and it was a back and forth game. Cam Ward always passes off his back foot. Still does it last year. It's a habit. I don't know if he'll ever break it. The offense you have a lot of assumptions for that offense to come together. A lot of assumptions. Could it? Of course it could. Cam Ward could be a 10-year All-Pro. Absolutely. But when just lining up first pick, I'm going to go and pencil in Jackson Dart with the highest upside. Chuck's age, and we have an alert on his age here. You can see in red, is a concern as well. I wasn't thoroughly impressed watching Chuck, as I do. I liked his Miami game. That was good. But, other than that, I thought he took what was there with a little bit more aggression than Rattler. Did up until the Chicago game where he went off the rails. So I don't love Chuck either. Don't love all of them have significant downsides. Anyway, going with Dart. Second pick, and that's going to be Atlanta. Second pick is going to go to Buffalo. And here, I don't see why Buffalo's going quarterback. You got Stafford, you have Rattler now as a good developmental. You just get another developmental. I mean, the risk reward just works out so much better going for somebody in the second or third with a Milton or whomever. Whoever you want, is you take a look at the pool of quarterbacks here, and there's a bunch that are sort of second tier guys. McCarthy, whoever it may be, the risk reward is much better when you add everything up compared to the risky guys I have to think of taking. All these guys, Dart, all three of them have real risks. So now I'm going defense. I'm going Abdul Carter, or I'm going Schlesinger. Looking at his needs, I think it's going to be Abdul Carter right here. Abdul Carter was way up on the list in terms of grading. Last year, he played exceptionally well. And he also did great in terms of pressures. Obviously, the draft pedigree is all lined up. So number 2 off the board is Abdul Carter to Buffalo. Third, we looked at Hamilton. Hamilton has a need a quarterback for sure. All right, same questions here. I don't know. I think, for whatever reason, there's this. I guess it depends on when your window is. If you think it's a little bit further away, you go with Ward. If you think it's close in, you go with Shuck. Even still, maybe Shuck just has. You want to go with that number 1 pedigree here. It's a Dart at the dartboard. I'll go with Ward at 3. 4. New Orleans, who seems to be building up a little bit for this year, okay, which kind of changed my view on this pick a little bit. Caleb Williams, not a particularly strong card. If you just run the stat of expected yard, his 23rd card in the set. Don't believe what's on the rating sheet from Strat in terms of rankings, please. That's just out of whack. 23rd. So I would, nonetheless, I think a lot of teams that are down in that range can compete, and New Orleans is right there. Needed running back, got a little bit of help with carries with picking up Jalen Wright. Could he go tight end right here? He could for sure. I mean, Cade Otton has been a reliable receiver, but can't go deep. So you could just strike right here with Loveland if you wanted to. But you see the receiver room is particularly weak. So it's all said and done. I'm going to go with McMillan reluctantly because I don't think McMillan's a top 4 talent. He's good, but he doesn't give you enough deep ball to make me, especially with his quarterback situation, if that turns out to be long-term, your guess is as good as mine. But anyway, his quarterback situation isn't all set up anyway. This is Jamar Chase level selection. I'm not down on McMillan at all, but this high, I don't like my pick here. If I'm New Orleans, I don't like this pick. I might do it, but I think, and I'm going to put it in here, Loveland seems to me to be a more generational talent, if you will, than McMillan is. So I would put strong lean, if not here, over to Loveland, but we'll stick with McMillan here, and with a reluctant pick based on need. 5th pick. Speaking of Loveland, goes to SCS, and you see a Darren Waller here, might latch on with the Panthers this year, but can't count on this sort of card next year. Going to assume that he will go with the high-end talent at the skill positions, as SCS is prone to do, and goes Loveland at 5. At 6, we have Cincy. Cincy seems to be trying to tear it down a bit. So I thought a little bit about Tyler Shuck here, but he's too risky. He's too risky at this spot. So if you're rebuilding or have a rebuilding posture, sort of leaning that way, then you're looking for long-term defensive help. That gets you thinking about Campbell, Schlesinger, who have shown it on the field that they're sort of going to be perhaps long-term all-pros. And we'll go with Schlesinger as the selection there for Cincinnati on the rebuild. 7, or at least the minor rebuild. Philadelphia. Kirk Cousins is currently at quarterback, has a definite need. Shuck makes sense at 7. That's where we're going. Philly. We'll get Shuck in this mock. 8, Chargers. Another team that kind of likes the talent of skill positions, has a tight end need. We'll go with the second tight end off the board here with Tyler Warren at 8. To the Chargers. 9th, now we've got the Jets trading into the role. It's a team with Mac Jones, who's, and Rodgers. Mac Jones got ranked very high by Mike Kane, but I got him down at 29. And this is not like my opinion. This is just pure statistical expected yards based on how Autumn Wind in particular operates. Not my opinion in here. Okay. 29th quarterback is Mac Jones. 7th is Aaron Rodgers. There's assumptions, of course, which, they're subjective to a certain degree, but this is not really my opinion of Mac Jones being 29th. So I don't believe the hype there. Aaron Rodgers, though, 7th, can lead this team. Needs a running back, clearly. So number 1 to me is Hampton. And for all sorts of reasons. He's ahead of Henderson. So we'll take Hampton off the board here at 8. Is that right? Or where are we here? 9. I believe, right? No, 8. No. 9. Sorry. 10 is the Giants. Also looking for a running back to complete what a team here ready that's sort of looking to compete. Added Brissett, a good asset with a team that's strong around him. He's 28th. With his team that's strong around him, can do well. And this team is strong around him, but definitely needs a back. The number 1 back just went off the board. So they'll go with the number 2 back here, and that is going to be Henderson. Now, you could make the case for the Washington back here with the apparently better card. I guess we'll see a little bit more on Tuesday when the cards come out. And you might see Joe do that here. Henderson is the better balance, though, of playing for this year without feeling like you're mortgaging the future. Not that Roski Merritt is, a 1-year guy. He's not, but overall, that's how that balance sort of shakes out, that Henderson's probably has a better future charted for him by most analysts. Next up is the Steamer, who was probably expecting to get McMillan right here. They're in need of receivers, and Shreveport is going to reluctantly take Igbuka here at 11, which is going to feel a little bit high. But that's kind of what happens if McMillan goes where he goes. I don't think McMillan, I don't know. That is my shakiest pick by far. McMillan at 4, I would say, out of all these, in my opinion. It's going to turn out that all of these are shaky, I'm sure, including my own pick. But, sitting here today, this becomes a very shaky pick too, just because Shreveport's going to have to convince themselves that a pick this high should go to Igbuka. And it's good receiver, no doubt. Could be very, very good in the future. Best carded receiver ranked receiver out of this entire set. I have him ranked better than McMillan. And again, this is just stats, guys, not my opinion. Got him where here? Receiver rank is 13th compared to McMillan, who is where here? McMillan is 15th. Okay. So getting the best card. That's something for sure. And you're getting obviously a very strong player in the future. Is he 11 strong? That's all kind of what I'm saying here when I'm hedging. Philadelphia Stars up next. Team that also could use a running back, so we're going to see a bit of a running back run here. They will go with Bill now, right? Yeah, they'll go Bill Krosky-Merritt here at 12. Next up, New England. New England needs a quarterback, not in position to get one here that's worthwhile. So this pick could easily be traded to try to get into a quarterback position or just trade out of the round to build up more picks. You could say that go safety here or cornerback. I think it's either of those positions. I think you're going to take the opportunity to get a guy on the corner who you know is going to stay on the boundary. It's going to be Will Johnson. There's a couple that you know are going to stay on the boundary. I think Will Johnson is where he winds up at 13 over Amos, who's a bit banged up right now for Washington. Johnson usually banged up, not banged up at all right now. Seems to be 100% going into the season. Has that LCB role locked down. Next, we have the Raiders. The Raiders, another guy in need of a halfback. With Prescott, needs somebody to pair along here. Doesn't have much options right now. There's a great option out there. He'll take advantage of it. In the 14th spot, going to take Cam Scatterbo. Obviously, very similar sort of risk profile as Dart. But down at 14, feel pretty good about that. Phoenix Cardinals an interesting case. And I think you sort of get to the point now where you look at these two guys who you know have high-end talent that are out there. And I think they really become under the radar screen right now. They could go earlier. Talk about Travis Hunter and Ashton Jeanty. Both high-end talents, should be great in years to come. Should be, but have a lot to prove and have enough to prove that they could drop this far. If we knew they were going to be great, they'd be gone, right, by now. And they might be. I think somebody might be willing to take a top 10 risk on either of them. Phoenix, I think it starts to come into the equation here. They need, have a need at cornerback, have a need kind of at safety, right? I mean, there's zeros there, so good run, but you need some. If you're a team that's as strong as Phoenix is, and they're pretty strong, probably want to fill one of those holes. There's enough safety depth out there in the trade market, not so much in the cornerback market, that you go cornerback here. And you kind of hold your nose a little bit because of the injury, and you hope he's going to be okay, and he should be on the field really soon. You go with Amos at 14. Take that corner spot immediately, and he has earned that spot on the boundary for Washington. 15 is now Carolina. Carolina could use a couple positions, could use tackle on the offensive side. You can see here blank. But you get into the point now with Mason Graham as well that you're saying, oh, geez, I mean, when is he going to go? He should have gone long ago, shouldn't he? Well, got a blank defensive line there. So we are going to pencil Mason Graham in at a very good deal value-wise at 15 for Carolina. Could easily go higher. Could easily scrape the top 5 even at the high end. He hasn't been knocking the cover off the ball. People aren't saying he's the best thing ever. You're not hearing but he needs improvement this year. But he's so far feels more like a top 10 guy on top 5 or 15 on that. And stock is falling 16 now to Dallas. Dallas is building up picks. Bill could use a quarterback. I think this is a prime spot for either Genty or Hunter, and we're going to put Hunter in here at 17 with pretty high confidence, honestly. I think this is a really, really good fit. Pretty high confidence in a mock means like 10%, but, and Hunter's listed with the wide receivers. 17 to Dallas. 18 now is New Orleans. New Orleans typically has had a sort of great offense over the last couple of years, and a defense that's lagged behind. Now Tua is falling off. Can't do much about quarterback here. Has James Cook to maintain the great offense that he has. Could use help at receivers, but all the top tier guys are off the board. Could easily look to tight end, but Akawaku's looked really good, and he's ranked pretty high in terms of tight ends in the league by those at PFF and other areas. So I don't know if you want to invest in tight end here. So probably look to investing in the defense as well, where you see a lot of blanks. He wished Mason Graham would have fallen. Could use help at all sorts of positions. Zeros back there. This seems to be the right fit for a guy like Nick Emenwari. Emenwari, he's playing a couple positions. See a CB5 rating and a 5.5 linebacker rating. Going to be good for years to come. Going to just find his spot over time in that New Orleans defense. Seems like a really good fit for a team that just sort of wants to build up defensive assets. Is as strong a defensive asset as you can get. Another guy who would easily go top 10. 19, Montreal. Montreal likes to bang, likes to bruise. Sort of building up a team to make a bit of a run here. Prime candidate for Ashton Genty. Prime candidate for another tight end, I would say. This team that likes tight ends, likes a 2-10 offense if they can get away with it. And it's not sort of an Arande Gatson sort of team. This is more of a team that likes small ball or smallish ball and tough football. This is the perfect spot for Harold Fannin. So Fannin is going to go to Montreal at 18. Is that right? Make that 19. Fannin. Also can play blocking back, notably, to Montreal. 20 is your Los Angeles Rams, a team that also sort of is on a rebuild, or at least a mini rebuild, not a full teardown. Dobbins off the squad now. Not sure why I'm showing him still here. That's interesting. Did I switch workbook somehow? He's gone. We know that. Yeah, maybe I just missed it in the transfers this morning. Could use some help in a variety of positions, but he's got some aging tackles here. And I think you're starting to pick up value in these highly rated tackles that have fallen and highly drafted tackles. So who's his favorite tackle? I think if you need to think about replacing Staley soon. You got some older guys here. So let's assume we have a long-term pick, sort of looking for best available. You could make the case, I think, very easily right here that Campbell is your best available, the Philadelphia middle linebacker, and maybe he goes there because you just view more value in a long-term middle linebacker pick. But I'm going to assume, for the moment anyway, that he likes what he sees in Membo, who went 7th overall to the Jets, and that's our 20th selection. LA Rams for Michael. Gets Membo. 21. we are heading over to St. Louis, I believe. Is that right? Yep, St. Louis Rams now. They're the team that's been eyeing tight ends, I think, for a while. You have the best one available in terms of long passing in the set. Not really a tight end, kind of a receiver. Gadsden fits in well right here to the St. Louis Rams. Yeah. Very happy to walk away with that, I'm sure. Will be Gary in this case. 22 now. We head back to Montreal. Genty's still on the board. Gets his tough tight end. Now going to get his tough long-term running back. Ashton Genty goes to Montreal. I didn't really fill these in, did I? 10. 10 is the Giants, I think. 9 is the Jets, I think now, all of a sudden. 12 is Oakland, is it? No, Philadelphia. Okay. Scatterboo went to Oakland. All right. That leaves us at the moment at 23, I think. And here we'll see the Houston Texans pick. You know, this is their team that's been sort of has just an overall need in a variety of positions. Who's the best player out there? Doesn't really have a dearth of assets on defense. Justin Herbert at the top. It's kind of like who's best available on defense for the long term. Scanning who's out there now. Seems pretty clear that Campbell is probably your best long-term bet. So we'll slot in Jihad Campbell to the Texans at 23. 24 brings us the St. Louis Cardinals. Team with Jalen Hurts at the top. Needs a halfback. Are you going to go for Judkins here or not? Or are you going to find another way in terms of halfback? Judkins seems to be a good bet, but there are other needs too. Tackle. I think in this case, with the premium talent available in tackle, it's a fairly deep running back crew in this set. There's places to go for a halfback later. Get the premium halfback versus what would clearly be the last of the top group of halfbacks. Premium tackle instead of the last of the top group. Who does he go with? You know, at this point, you got a top 10. You got top 10 picks all over the place here. Do you like Campbell? Do you like Banks? So he gets the rating here and goes Banks. $25. Grand Rapids, very happy with the strong team that they have everywhere but quarterback, which, could change from other ways than this draft pick. And certainly wouldn't expect them to go for someone here to solve that problem. Instead, let's solve the halfback problem. And let's get Judkins off the board here at 25. Thankful in this mock, anyway, that the Cardinals decided to stay away from halfbacks. 26, Cleveland Browns. A lot of trades from Cleveland. They are thrilled that Tyler Booker has fallen this far. I heard, I'm watching every game. Been fortunate to get every game live so far. The questions about Booker are a little bit more than I expected to hear the last couple of games. I'm not sure if they're real. I have more work to do there, but that's not influencing this slide for Booker here to 26. Cleveland thrilled to get him right there. 27, Tampa. They sort of have a need at tackle. Could be solved other ways, but there's good premium talent out there. Just pick your first rounder that you like. You want a good rating, but you want to balance things here. If you went for pure rating, you'd go for Fatu. But let's imagine that he looks a little bit more long term and goes Will Campbell, whose rating points are just the same anyway. At 27. 28 is Detroit. This one I kind of struggled with. Okay, solve their tackle problems. Went back and forth. Ultimately, it's this right here, this missing outside linebacker that can be solved with this pick. There's a number of them out there. But it seems, especially given the suspensions going on with Pierce, that knocked him out of this spot. We'll head over to Dallas and grab the Cowboys' 44th overall pick here at 28 to Detroit. 29 is the Houston Oilers. So now you're into the second tier of halfbacks here, and I think he needs one, but it's not a far drop at all. To Mungai at all. So you could easily make the case, he's right in the mix with everybody else, especially given the ratings that the apparent card he's going to get. I think you can make the case he should be in over Judkins for sure. So you can make that case. So I think Houston be really happy here to pick him up at 29. And then last, Seattle seems to be in a bit of reshuffle mode, not building for this year. So what's the best talent out there? Well, team could, kind of use a safety. I mean, you got one with Hamilton here at 6'6", but Malachi Starks sitting out there seems to be kind of leaning a little bit heavy on the Ravens, but good talent. See, his coverage rating was not up where Watts' coverage rating is, so you might go for Watts here instead. It's a good question, but draft pedigree, everything you hear is so positive about Starks. I think he's going to take a little bit more of a longer term view and go with Starks. And that's our top 30. Let's quickly put these up so you can see them a little bit better. First of all, I'll probably paste these as value. And then we'll sort them out. Let's just do that. Okay. So there you see, and let's zoom into it a bit. There you see the top 30. These guys are in bold just because I noticed a change in there. The system just notices a change whenever our lads change their depth charts. So to pick that up, it automatically put it in bold. That's why you see them in bold here. These are not major changes for Henderson or McBuka. Dart, Carter, Ward, McMillan. First of all, Dart may not end up being Dart. That's the odds-on favorite right now, though. Carter may not end up being Carter. Could easily be Schlesinger, for example. Could also be a QB if somebody stands out, but I see less than 50% chance of a QB here. I mean, I would say probably 25% chance. I mean, that's how low. So somebody's going to have to pop and really look good in the preseason. Somebody's have to stand out, I think, to not stay away from QB here at 2. These QBs are just not good enough in terms of, there's no Justin Herberts here. This is second-tier quarterback class. Hopefully they emerge and be great, but I don't think you're taking the second choice here if you're Buffalo. Ward at 3. Hamilton needs a quarterback. We'll just stick Ward in there. Could easily be Shough. I'm not very happy with this McMillan pick. Too high, in my opinion, as much as I like him. I mean, solid receiver, solid as they get, but that's Hall of Fame level expectations for a wide receiver in the autumn wind draft at 4. Loveland has a better path to a gold jacket, so I could easily see him sliding in to 4, but we'll have him with SCS here at 5. Schlesinger 6, Shuck to the QB need, just Kirk Cousins right now at Philadelphia, so they get Chuck. Chargers really happy with Warren at 8. You see this run on offensive talent continues here with Hampton at 9, Henderson 10, Ibuka 11, 12 is Bill Krusky Merritt, and then we finally get back to defense with Bill Johnson at 13, right back to Scadaboo for Oakland. Amos, Mason Graham going a bit late here, guys. I don't know. You could see anybody else who's just looking for talent, and maybe that's the Patriots seeing him slide that far and just sort of have to take the talent. Travis Hunter at 17, another guy who could easily go up a bit, somebody who's just hunting for talent. You know, you could make the case for Cincinnati to take Hunter at 6, right, in a rebuild sort of situation, or at least a mini rebuild. Easily could see Hunter go as high, I think, as 6. Maybe even up to 4. Yeah, it depends. I mean, so I think Dallas will be really happy to get him here at 17. 18, the Voodoo going for basically the defensive talent. Montreal sticking to their sort of meat and potatoes approach with Fannin. Membo for the Rams. Gadsden, electric tight end out of Syracuse for Gary's squad, and then back to Genty for more meat and potatoes, hardworking sort of in the trenches sort of stuff for Montreal. Campbell at 23, Banks 24, Judkins 25. Cleveland really happy to get Booker at 26, and going back here to 24, I'm not so sure about this. Could easily go halfback instead and grab Judkins or Monange. No, by the way, Grand Rapids might go Monange, by the way, if this sort of situation plays out. So anyway, Cleveland happy with Booker. Tampa happy to get Campbell down here. Detroit fills in the linebacker need. Houston gets their halfback, and we'll say that Seattle gets the best on the boards, and that might be Starks at that point. That's it, everybody. Thanks for watching. Don't expect to do an update out of this, but we'll see. In any event, we're 2.5 weeks away, 3 weeks away for the draft. So if I don't see you before then, see you then.